Hey guys, in today's video I'm going to be going through my entire vibe coding setup. I am convinced that vibe coding is actually the way to do things, and that one-shot prompting and things like context engineering and Claude Flow are actually overcomplicating things. Now, I'm going to be talking about this in great detail today. Hopefully this is going to be beginner friendly, so beginner friendly people can start to build their own applications as well. If there's anything you don't understand, just look it up on ChatGPT, and everything will be in the description of this video in this document, which you can find either in a pinned comment or in the description. So let's get into it. This video will break down the process I use to vibe code applications. I personally believe that one-shot prompting is kind of pointless and doesn't really work, but also vibe coding, if you just jump onto Claude Code and expect it to work, it also doesn't work. So this is how I do it. So the first stage is obviously to download and install Claude Code. You can use Claude Desktop, you can use Cursor, you can use whatever you want. I just use Claude Code personally, and I also think it's the best setup. You should use the Pro or Max plan for maximum efficiency of cost. You will never pay more than $100 or $200, and this is massively worth it for people. Now, you can either set it up on Windows or Mac or Linux. You can set it up on anything. You can set it up inside Docker if you're having problems. Just try and get it set up in Docker instead. So let's talk a little bit about Docker. So Docker, basically what it allows you to do is it allows you to containerize your applications so that you can code in the same environment that your code will actually sit on when you launch it onto a server. I think like 99% of servers, I don't know what the actual figure is, are Linux-based servers. So if you're developing on a Mac or if you're developing on Windows, like the majority of people who are vibe coding probably are, you're going to have problems unless you use Docker. So just install those two things. Claude Code is fairly easy to install, and also Docker Desktop is fairly easy to install. Once you've installed them both, then you want to open up a terminal. Now, a terminal is basically, it's just, it's the back end, so ignore that file name. It's the back end of your computer, right? If you think of it like that. So this is how you talk directly to your computer. Like if you want to run a script, if you want to make a new file, whatever, then instead of, going through the user interface, you go directly to the back end. So the way Claude Code works is that it's folder based. So you want to make a new folder with mkdir, which means make a new directory, and we'll call this I don't know, anything that comes to mind, coffee, right? And then we'll cd into coffee. CD is change directory. So you see, after I wrote cd coffee, it changed directory to the coffee folder. So now we're coding inside the coffee folder instead of my main Mac folder. Now, to ensure that Claude Code is installed, you want to do Claude --version, right? And then it should say 1.06 or whatever the current version is when we're doing this. And then we want to use this command here, Claude --dangerously skip permissions. Now, you don't have to do this. It's just I do this because I don't want to sit there pressing enter all the time. It's just kind of annoying, etc. So once you're here, what you want to do is you want to say set up Docker CLI and GitHub CLI, so you can run your own Docker and GitHub CLI commands. Also, please make it pop up with an OAuth login for GitHub. Now you can just copy this prompt. It'll be in the document as well. I'll just add it right now so that you can just take it from the document if you want. So we'll just put this here like that. And I'll sort that out in a second. What you want to do now is just press enter. I don't have to do this because I already have GitHub set up, but yeah, you do need to do this part of the process. And then I don't think I have this one set up, so I'm going to do the same thing again. I'm going to set up my database. So I'm going to say, please set up the Supabase CLI and set up a local DB for testing purposes. So what this basically means is, instead of using the MCP, I think a lot of people are obsessed with MCPs with good reason. They are very, very cool. But 99% of the time with Claude Code, you actually don't need an MCP. You can just literally run the CLI, which is the command line interface, which is basically, it runs terminal commands instead of using an MCP to talk to an MCP server. So it's just overcomplicating things. You don't need the Supabase MCP. You can just use a local Supabase server. So you'll see in a second, it's just installed the Supabase CLI, then it'll initialize a Supabase project, It'll start a local Supabase database, and then we know that it can basically use that local configuration as the local database for whatever project we're building. So you don't actually need MCPs. You don't actually need to go into Supabase. You don't need to start this, that, and the other. You can see right now it's just doing it all itself, right? So I'm just starting a Supabase project in this project, which is a really, really important part of this process, but something that people massively overcomplicate by going on supabase.com or getting the Supabase MCP and getting all their API keys and blah, blah, blah. That's not really needed until much further on in the process when you're basically using a production kind of dev mindset and you need to bug fix. That's when you need the Supabase MCP. But at this point in the process, you do not need the Supabase MCP. You can just set up a local Supabase server and you can run it there. Okay, so we can actually see, if we go here now, then I believe, anyway, I've never actually done this before. I probably should have done this before I made a video on it, but pretty sure this should just be Supabase. Yeah, exactly. So this is a locally running version of Supabase, and I've seen people do this before. That's why I did it. So what we can now do is we can use this as a base for our actual project, right? And then I'm assuming you can also self-host Supabase on, for example, DigitalOcean, although I would have to look into that, etc., etc. But for now, let's just continue with this. But you can see how we can very easily just set up Supabase locally, and we don't need the MCP, right? Now, there is one MCP that I do recommend, which is the DigitalOcean MCP. So obviously I can't show you guys this exactly because I have my own API key, but I just ran this code here with my actual API key. This isn't a real API key, just so you know. And then what you want to do is you want to exit out of Claude Code, run the command, right? And then you do Claude -- dangerously skip permissions, and then you do -c at the end of it, right? And then you're continuing with the conversation that you were having before. But now, if I run /mcp, you'll see the DigitalOcean MCP is now connected. So you basically now at this point, you have everything you need for a CI/CD pipeline. What you should now do is, when you actually have some code, is you should push to a GitHub, right, which is called dev, and then have another one called main, right, and then do the same with the database, right? So you have a dev database and a main database. You split everything up, and then you do all your dev here, and then when you're ready, you push it to DigitalOcean, and then when you're actually ready to launch, you do dev becomes main, then you launch it here, and then you make a change locally, you push it to dev, you do all the database migrations, you write code to do the database migrations, and then you push everything to main, and it should automatically update the database in main as well. So you can also add any other MCPs. I'm not going to be adding any other MCPs. That's all we need. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to send this, right, using Docker. And I'm going to say use random ports, as I have a lot of Docker projects running at the moment. And then I'll just hit enter. What this is going to do is it's going to create an HTML, CSS, JavaScript front end, including a dashboard. And then it's going to create a fast API backend, which is a full stack application that you can see here, front end, back end, both containerized with Docker using random ports. What that means is we're starting to actually build our environment that we're going to code in. Now, you might be tempted to try and make it already start building something, but I would argue it's better to get a skeleton of everything you need first and then start to build something. So kind of the last phase of the process is to find the documentation that you need. Now, I think I only need an open router API key here and just like 2 pages. So the quick start is good. And then we need web search too. So literally these 2 pages, all I do is just press copy page here. That's all I need to feed this to Claude Code and for it to build whatever I want. So I'm going to be showing you guys this entire process. I am going to build something shortly. Whether I'll finish the entire project or not is another matter because it does take a bit of time doing it this way. But I just want to show you that by building the building blocks like this, you can build something completely functional in an hour, for example. So I'm just going to say, can you use sub agents to hurry this part up? It's not that complicated. And then, sorry, there is another MCP that I've just thought of while I've been working on this. So I'm actually going to add this as well. So add the playwright MCP for testing. This is essential. Now you want to add the Playwright MCP because it, again, actually though, to be fair, you can, I'm just going to put this in brackets, could use the Playwright scripts, right? Playwright scripts. I would argue in this case, the MCP is better, right? The reason being is that it can use AI like Claude Code to identify where it has to click and things. Whereas with the script, it has to kind of already know the layout of the page, which of course it does because it's just coded it. But I still think the MCP is better in this case. So you can see here, I just quickly said, can you use sub agents to hurry this part up? It's not that complicated. What I'm just going to quickly do is I'm just going to press escape, exit out, do the Claude MCP command, and then we'll do Claude dangerously skip permission C, and then we'll do /MCP. This should work, yeah. I'll just say I just added the Playwright MCP so you can test properly. Please continue. Please hurry up. Okay, so like I said, because this is quite a simple task, and I only recommend doing this with incredibly simple tasks, I just asked, can you please spin up multiple sub-agents? Because it was taking ages. I don't want this to take ages. I want to show that you can do this in kind of under an hour. So yeah, now you can see it's actually doing this properly. So you can see we're starting to get like rapidly increasing things. Like we've got a Docker file now, we've got a Docker file for the backend. Supabase looks really, really cool. This is kind of, you can see the setup is very, very simple. You have front end, back end database, right? Very, very well organized. This is what you want to be going for, guys, because trust me, shit gets complicated very, very quickly. Another thing I highly recommend is having a lot of M variables. You really, really need to use M variables. You do not want to mess this up because the way it works is, right, you have, when you have something like Supabase and non-key, instead of putting never hard code, something like this, okay, always put an M variable. Like it's so important because when you put it on DigitalOcean and you have dev and prod, trust me, it gets very confusing very quickly unless you code like this. And also just remember, you can have an M variable for anything. Like one thing that we did was Stripe discount codes were an M variable for us. And then what you want to see is when it says Docker compose up dash dash build, and then you can see it's even opening up Playwright and navigating to that page. So this is what it's done so far, right? This is everything I've asked it to do so far. It's the dashboard. It hasn't separated the dashboard and homepage. I'm just going to mention that quickly to it, but you can just see how quick that actually was. So I'm just going to say, please separate the dashboard and the homepage. The homepage should be the base URL, not the dashboard. Also, please make the, actually, I'll do that later, it's fine. Okay, so this is one last thing I do. You probably do this in prompting in the original thing. Guys, if you're not following this step by step, if you're following this step by step, then do this now because you don't want the dashboard to be on the homepage, obviously. And also this is kind of messed up as well. You don't want to go into things with a messed up CSS pattern, to be honest with you. But yeah, you can just reprompt this, for example. It's quite funny because it's come up with coffee shop management system. I am thinking of doing little SaaSes and things like that that handle little problems that I see, like a little coffee shop CMS or a little coffee shop management system. I think that'd be pretty cool, actually, to be fair. But I guess they kind of want apps, not web apps. But yeah, you could just literally make thousands and thousands of these, right? And have them stand on their own 2 feet. I'm going to talk a little bit about SEO towards the end of this video, guys. So if you're curious about that, definitely keep watching. So I'm going to talk about how I envision a model where you grow your application without any effort, just simply using SEO. Okay, so now this is the home page, right? And then we press dashboard and it goes to the dashboard. Perfect. So this is what we wanted. So we'll just stop this. This is perfect. You could run /compact right now. I don't think I even need to be honest with you. I'm just going to show you a very, very simple thing that I do to actually now build the application, right? So like I said, first of all, we grab the open router stuff. So I'll just paste this and we'll just paste this. And we'll just say, I need an open root key as well, actually. Oh, actually, I'm just going to grab their models page as well because it annoys me that it just assumes that the models that I'm talking about don't fucking exist. Super, super frustrating. Where are models? There we go. So we'll copy this page too. There we go. Just have GPT-5 on, for example. No. Okay, so we'll just say use GPT-5. It's a model, I promise. I want you to create a business summary generator in the dashboard, which creates a business summary for our keyword tool. It takes business URL as an input, searches it on Google or whatever using web search from OpenRouter, and then generates the business summary. This is all I want you to do for now. Make sure the dashboard displays properly for this. So just one thing that you guys kind of need to know is unless you restart Docker, oftentimes the changes that it says have been done will not show up here. So just be very, very wary of that. You could, for example, prompt here and say, make sure that every time you make a change, Docker restarts automatically. But if you just always remember, and it should also remember this, but if you always remember to tell it to restart Docker, then that's also a good way to do it. Now, one more thing I want to mention is when you've built your first feature, add everything that it's done so far to memory. Or another way to do this is when you see compact here or context length left until compact, once it gets low, just have it really fill in its memory of everything it's done, everything correct that it's done so far, right? Because you do want to have kind of like a story or like a memory of everything that has been done. Now that's super, super important. Please do not forget that. Okay, so we can see here the business summary generator has been added, but you can see as well that it's actually finding out mistakes as it goes along. This is the key thing about this process. Instead of me testing it and not necessarily checking all of the logs, in this case, okay, obviously there's something wrong with the CSS here, which needs to be fixed. So now I'm just working with it, right? So I'm just telling it what to do. I'm saying just set the OpenRouter API key in the .env and also fix the weird CSS issue on the dashboard page. Okay, so yeah, another thing with Playwright, guys, is if you're having a little bit more of an issue with stuff, you can actually get it to take its own screenshots, which is what I just did. You can see here, can you take a screenshot of it? It's getting kind of stuck. This happens a lot with CSS, you'll notice this, but it's not just images, right? You actually need to process the CSS as well. And then, yeah, the really important part of this, guys, is to actually process the CSS. So it finds the mistake with the screenshot, it fixes it, and then you process it, and it sees that it's actually not updating. So it needs to do a complete hard refresh of the website. Then it's going to make sure that the right things are actually being processed this time. Okay, and you can see now it's actually fixed the problem. So let's see if this is now working. Oh, what? Okay, yeah, it looks like it's actually working now. Let's see, two-man.it, generate summary. Okay, so this is kind of the secret behind things, guys. You have both the Playwright, but you also have the Docker logs. So we can see here what's going on in the back end as well and in the front end, and then we can see what's going on in the browser using Playwright. This is the key to everything that we are doing. And we can see that it is working, right? So it's analyzing the business website at the moment. So this is a much, much faster way to do everything, right? It just feels like it takes longer because you have to take the time to actually do it. But the issue with context engineering is just to get, or you know, Archon or Claude Flow is they can get you to this point more quickly. But first of all, you might not know how it's built. Second of all, it might have placeholder code all over the place. Third of all, it's just not you're never going to be sure of the actual code that's inside your application, which is just a terrible way to code, to be honest with you. So we can see here raw summary, copy summary, I guess, download as JSON. I'm not actually sure where the summary is, but okay, so this is another thing I really, really recommend you do as well, guys, is that when you're coding this stuff, you ask it to add error logging so that you know all of the outputs from all of the APIs. Because what can often happen is something comes back empty, like it did before. I just got this, which makes it look like it's empty, right? But the response is not empty. It's just it didn't code it properly. So just be really, really careful with things like that. Make sure that you're reading all of the outputs, and the code, more importantly, is reading all of the outputs from everything. Okay, so I think I have to use GPT-4o. I think GPT-5, it requires a little bit more setup with OpenRouter, and I'm not sure that this particular API key is set up. I'm not exactly sure how that works, but I'm just going to hop on over to GPT-4o Mini instead, see if that actually works. Okay, there we go. So now this is generating a business summary. You can see apple.com. This is the business summary that was created. Obviously, you can change this prompt, but now what we want to do is kind of build the rest of this keyword tool, which is actually what I'm building. So I'm going to say, okay, now add 2 more prompts after this one as a workflow. The first one takes the business summary and generates all main pillar page topics that you would expect a business like that to have. Then the second one takes each pillar page and generates 10 sub pillar pages. This should only be 2 prompts, and the sub pillar pages should be displayed as potential blog post topics themselves, not further sub-niching down after that, right? And then press enter here. Now, this isn't actually that important part of the process to show, to be honest with you. I'm just showing you because I don't want to just show you some random shit that all it does is generate a business summary. But I could already kind of move on from this part here. And a final part of this that I do want to talk about is how to generate the front end, right? So I just showed you how I do the back end. You just keep building on that, keep adding new tools, keep adding this, keep adding that, keep adding the other. Make sure you're doing end-to-end testing, make sure everything is working, right? Once you've done that, then you create the front end with the context of the back end. Now, the reason I actually had WordStream open earlier is because I was looking for a keyword tool that I liked the design of. What you can do is you can send this to Claude Code with the Playwright MCP. You can say, I really like the style of this website, make my front end the same as this, but use the context of my back end to generate it. Not the same, but like say like change the colors a little bit, etc., etc. And then you can say like generate 5 SEO pages or generate 10 SEO pages. And what you can do is you can go on here and you can type in like keyword or like free keyword tool, right? Which is funny because this is a free keyword tool. And you can grab these keywords here, right? Click here or click here, copy these. This is how I did the SEO for my application. And then send it to Claude Code and say, you know, generate 10 pages that are linked to or that use this keyword, right? So let's just do keyword tools. It's not actually a free keyword tool. So yeah, like Google keyword tool, right? I don't know, look for ones where they're not branded, etc. You can click on questions here, for example, if you want to find some questions that you want to answer for blogs, right? Blogs is a bad word, just pages is actually a better word. Okay, so look, for now, I'm just going to skip this part here where I actually make a working tool. Like I can do this in another 5 minutes. It's just a waste of time because I've done it a million times before and it's not really what this video is about. So I'm going to say, now I want you to create the front end, create me 5 SEO pages. This is the website I want to use the theme of, but I want you to use a different font and colors and make it for my website. My app is called Best Keyword Tool AI.com. Completely made up, guys, obviously. And then I'll give it WordStream. I want you to use WordStream's layout, but not colors or font. Also, choose from these topics for SEO pages. Now, this is kind of the best part of this. This is the part that I think is slightly different to what a lot of people are talking about, right? So I'm just going to choose some of these. I'm going to do what are the best keyword research tools? Are keywords important for SEO? Which tool can be used for keyword research? I'll just copy these 3 for now, and then we'll grab some from keyword suggestions. So there we go. No, I didn't copy. Great. So I'll just grab some of these. Wait, so Okay, so I'll just hit enter here. It should use Playwright on WordStream, get all of its CSS, and then start to build something that actually looks like I want it to, right? Okay, this is a point that I cannot make enough. You are going to have to cancel it sometimes. So just try to create a new directory for the marketing website. This is not what I wanted. What I actually wanted it to do was put it directly in the front end so that what we've got already is already the website, right? So it should be able to get WordStream's layout here. I would have preferred it to process the CSS rather than take a screenshot, but I'm not going to pause it here. I'll just let it do its thing. And then I'm just going to say, because this is a simple task, please spin up multiple sub-agents to hurry it up. With the front end, I'm not that bothered. I think it's pretty good to spin up multiple sub-agents. I'm going to go take a 5-10 minute break. I'm going to come back and then I'm going to show you how to actually launch this website. And we've done all of this in basically under an hour. And the only thing missing was the actual full implementation of the backend. But trust me, I could code that myself with just using ChatGPT 5 front end in less than 2 minutes. So it's really not an important part of the process. Okay, so I'm just going to keep refreshing this here, guy. Oh, there it is. Bang. So this is kind of what I've been trying to explain to people, guys. This is the really, really amazing thing about this. About this setup is, we can make all of these amazing pages. Now, it doesn't seem to have made. I can only see the home page right now. But then, Playwright's going through this, so we can just follow Playwright. Like, look at this. This is all just SEO, 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 right? Trying to rank on Google for the various keywords, etc. And then obviously, we've got SEO importance here as well. Bang, bang, bang. Yeah, and this is kind of the entire process, guys. And then you just keep making the back end better and better, keep adding more and more front end pages to rank on Google. And that is my entire process, guys. Once you get to this point, all you need to do is say, now push this to a private GitHub and put it on DigitalOcean for me. So it's just running through the GitHub process now. It's going to create the GitHub repo for me, and then it's going to use the DigitalOcean MCP to actually push to DigitalOcean, right? So again, I'm not doing anything, guys. This is just doing all of this itself. I'm not really correcting anything anymore either. This is my entire process, and it's so simple and so easy. We now have a database. We have a GitHub set up. In about 10 seconds, we're going to have DigitalOcean set up, and we can literally just, continue development. And it's that easy, guys. So we can see here, best keyword tool AI. There we go. It's now building. It should already be connected to GitHub as far as I know. I'm not 100% sure how that works. But I'm assuming it's already connected to GitHub. And very, very soon we'll have, something that we could send to people, whatever. We could start to even get customers in or people on the wait list or whatever. And then, like I said at the beginning, because we're using Docker and also DigitalOcean, as far as I understand it, uses Docker or something similar to Docker, there's not going to be any issues. It should just build. Now, it might not. There might be a problem, whatever. We would just then fix the problem. But as far as I know, there should be no reason why this should not just build. Okay, so there might be a problem clicking here. It does take a little bit of time for the DNS to work. I'm not going to be going through that in this video just because it does take so long. But everything is set up, right? If we scroll up here, you should see that, selecting branch main, checking out commit. So it is connected to GitHub. And that's pretty much the entire process. Like I said, I'm not going to go through this now because it takes a while for the DNS for DigitalOcean to actually show the website, but I guarantee you that everything will be set up. Thank you so much for watching, guys. If you're watching all the way to the end of the video, you're an absolute legend. I'll see you very, very soon with some more content. Peace out.